wait until people start joining. How are all of you? Doing very well. Abby is the only one left that has any school at all. Got the other ones through, so we're going to enjoy some time off for summer. So I'm really happy about that. Let me get adjusted here. Okay. Okay, so 5 people are on. So go ahead and give me a thumbs up, share it, subscribe if you haven't, all that good stuff. It helps the logistics. So go ahead and say something. Let's see if I can see you on the chat. If you guys join, tell me hi. Might have to open a different window. Hi, Joyce. Okay, you guys are on. I should have gotten iced. It's really hot in here. It's been in the 90s in Illinois the last few days. So we went from like, I don't know, I think it was close to 40 a week or two ago to now we're in the 90s. That's how Illinois is, though. We have huge, broad jumps. So hi, Amy. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Melissa and Julia. Good to see you guys. Okay, so hi, Abby. My Abby Gabby. Abby's watching the babies for me. So I decided to go and get a coffee decaf because I'll be awake till 1 o'clock in the morning if I drink anything else on the way here. All right, so we're going to get into the subject. I've been actually asked, I know Angeli asked me a few weeks ago to do this subject, just basically, and I'm going to be going over kind of how we do our budget. I meant to look on the Quicken and see if I can't screen share. I'm not on Zoom. I'm so used to Zoom because that's what I do my online piano lessons through. But I was going to kind of show you like an older budget of ours, just kind of how we set everything up. So, yes. And I'm going to be going into our story a little bit of how we got onto a budget, why we got onto a budget, and how necessary it was for us to get into the budget, Joyce, because like you, we were newlyweds and expecting a baby at one time. And about 4 or 5 years into our marriage, we kind of found ourselves in a little bit of financial trouble. I mean, not a huge amount, but my husband at that time was making about $35,000 a year, and we had a car payment, and then we were just renting, so we didn't have a house payment, but we had a car payment, and then we also had credit card. We had amassed some credit card debt, about $6,000 in credit card debt, which when you're making $35,000, you really don't want to get all that money on a credit card. And so it turned into where we were like borrowing from the next paycheck to pay our bills from the last one, borrowing, what is that phrase? Borrowing from Peter, robbing from Peter to pay Paul. We were doing that. So we really had to buckle down and get rid of all our debt. And my husband, I know there's like a big controversy. Some people hate Dave Ramsey. Some people love him. Well, we read his books and it really got our life back on track as far as finances went. So I kind of wanted to touch on that because I know a lot of ladies are struggling. Maybe for most of you that watch my show, you come from single income, homes. Hi, Chanello. And I'm Alicia. Yeah, so most of you come from single income homes. And so you kind of need this. And then even single women, Angeli, that maybe need better help when it comes to cutting corners, saving money. Hey, KJV Mama, different things like that. So let's get into it. So our whole story. Okay, so I kind of, told a little bit about it. I remember we decided to get a credit card. We had been married. I think we had just one child at the time. And we had no credit. And we were renting. So we didn't really need a lot of credit. But we decided to sign up for a credit card. And we were only like 21 or something. So we were young. And I remember we were going to get family pictures done. And we went to JCPenney. They had JCPenney's then. And we all got matching outfits. And I'm like, well, how are we going to pay for this? My husband's like, let's put it on the credit card because we can. That was kind of our idea. We can put it on the credit card. So let's put it on there. So that began our journey of buying stuff that we didn't really need. So, at first we were like, we're going to use this only for emergencies. This is not going to be for just frivolous things, but that I needed this, or, this would break and we need this. And we didn't, it was really going to be cutting it close to the bill. So I need to put groceries on there. until we had dug a hole. And like I said, when you're only making $35,000, you don't want to have a credit card with $6,000 on it. You don't want to own a car payment. You don't want to own a, $10,000 car payment or whatever it is. You don't want to have as much debt as your, half of your income, half of your yearly income. So we read the Dave Ramsey books, and my husband's like, we need to get on a budget. So we sat down, and our favorite go-to program has been Quicken, Quicken, Quicken. And I know you can buy probably an online subscription now, I'm not sure, but it's really nice because it shows you overall how much money you have coming in, and then how much money you have going out, and how much you're going to be like in the hole or ahead. We were oftentimes in the red when we first started this. So we decided to start an aggressive plan to pay down our debt. And the method that he recommends is the snowball. And that's where you start with your smallest debt and you work your way up. You don't want to start chipping away at your biggest debt because it's very overwhelming and you'll feel like you're not really getting anywhere. So you take the smallest debt, which, at that time, I can't even remember what our smallest debt is. Now, I also want to add, when we started having kids, we always had a part that we had to pay that wasn't covered by the Walmart insurance. He was working at Walmart then, and it was usually around $1,000. So right after Tommy was born, we would pay, my husband was getting $100 from the church a week. Back then, he was like part-time, but it was $100. So we would get our paycheck on Sunday. Monday, he would go cash it, go to the hospital, walk in, pay. I know this is like so old fashioned now with everything being online, but he would walk in and he'd pay the $100 toward, after tithe, of course, but he would pay whatever was left. Sometimes it was 75, sometimes it was the whole 90, sometimes it was 50, whatever was left. He would pay that towards our hospital bill. So then by the time we had the next baby, so I remember we paid off Tommy, and I literally had Jason like a week later. So then we were right back in the same boat. We were paying off another hospital bill, but we had that paid off within a year. And then we had Abby a couple years later. And so I feel like we've always been, paying hospital bills. So that was probably like our lowest bill when we started, was the medical bills. So you just start chipping away. And then as you pay off more and more and more, it gets faster and faster and faster, because whatever you set aside to pay towards debt, you then take that and put it towards the new debt. So if you're paying off, let's say you're paying off two $200 credit cards or something, and you're paying off 50 to each, and you're trying to pay those down. Well, as soon as that's done, you take the 100, the 50 for each, and then you pay it towards the next debt. Okay, so eventually you're going to just snowball all that debt. But hello, Denise. Hello, KJV. All that to say, my number one tip for budgeting is do not get a credit card. Okay, so if you do get a credit card because you feel like you just have to have something and you don't have an emergency fund, and that's another Dave Ramsey thing, is an emergency fund, then you take that credit card and you do what we did. When we started paying off our debt, we froze it in a block of ice and we put it in the freezer. That way, if we had to use it for an emergency, such as car repairs or something that came up, we had to thaw it. And during that time that we were thawing it, we could think, okay, is this something that we really need? Is this something that we really need to do? And if it was, then, it was there if we needed it. But if not, it just really made us think. Yes, we're going to go over eating at home. When we were paying off all our debt, all this stuff applies. So, and then you also want to get a savings account built up. Put aside a little bit each week to where you have a $500 emergency fund, then a $1,000 emergency fund, and then you want 3 months worth to live off of. Now, before, I don't think we ever made it to 3 months being saved up, but we have made it to where we had all our debt paid off and we had a $1,000 emergency fund. That's about the biggest step that we've made it to. But we're still trying. We're always trying to get, our expenses pared down, no debt, live with no credit card. That's what we're really trying to achieve. In fact, we're refinancing our home right now, and our monthly payment is going to stay about the same, but we're getting a really lower interest rate, and we just dropped it down to a 15-year loan. So in 15 years, our house will be paid off. And, by then we'll be 55, but everything will be paid for. So we've done quite a bit of paying it down in the last few years, since we've only had it 8 years. So we will have paid it off in the 20, whatever that is, 20 some years. And we've also always paid a little extra towards our mortgage each month because you want to pay more towards the principal and not just be paying down the interest all the time. So there's a lot. That's hilarious, Kirsten. She said, my husband just said he's going to freeze me in a block of ice, so I stopped ordering things from Amazon. Oh, that is so funny. But yeah, we actually did freeze our credit card. And there was one time we had to thaw it for something. I can't remember what it was, probably car repair or something. But we did have to thaw it one time to use it. But we went almost an entire time when we were trying to pay that credit card down. We went almost that whole time without putting anything on it. If my husband was watching, I could ask him. He remembers everything. So yeah, we've actually been on the Dave Ramsey show. A little known fact. My husband called in. He was on one of his shows, and we got to do the I'm debt free scream. So we paid off all our debt. It took a couple years. And when we sat down to budget, my husband, at that time we had, a couple little kids. We might have had 3 little kids. I'm not sure. But he literally gave me $35 a week, $30 or $35 a week to spend on groceries. And now looking back, I have no idea how I did that, because we can't even take our family to McDonald's for $35 a meal right now. It's so crazy expensive. Now, remember, this was like, 17, 18 years ago, whatever it was. But I cried when he told me. He's like, I know this isn't much, but, we have to pay down the debt and, whatever. And so, yeah, we did the envelope system, Amanda, and I had my $35 a week to put in my envelope, and I would go grocery shopping, and I had it. And I know I addressed this, I think last week with Chinello and with Mrs. Chinello, but I would have it down to like the last cent, like $34.99 or whatever it was. It was either $30 or $35. I can't remember, but I would have it down to the last cent. I would have everything figured out exactly. And, we did the cash systems. We had like an envelope, because you're more prone to spend more on the debit card because you're not really seeing, you're not exchanging cash by hand. So when you use a debit card, you're not seeing the electronic numbers in your head. So you're more apt to spend more using debit, to go off budget. And then, so it's just easier to do the cash system for that. But when you do your budget, for us, it was always, we knew we were kind of on a set. We knew what he was going to get from Walmart. So we would take off tithe automatically, and then we would budget in, what his paycheck would be. And then we did quite a bit towards debt. I remember a few hundred a month, and when you're only living $35 of groceries a week, that's a lot that you see going out. But we were determined we were going to pay it off. I can't remember if we did it in less than a year. Maybe it was over a year or two it took us to pay all that down, living off of $35,000 a year. So it can be done. But areas that we had to budget and cut down in. So number one would have been groceries. That was one of the things. Now, if you have a bigger family, please, please, please don't think that you can live off $35 a week, especially now in the day and age that we live in. Inflation, prices have gone up. Obviously, it's going to be different. I don't see how a family of 5 could live off less than 75 to 100 a week now. So, and if you can live off that, you're doing pretty good. But my favorite stores always to shop at, I did, back then we were paying off our debt, I did Aldi, and I did lots of deals at like Hy-Vee. I would check out the cheapest deals. A lot of these stores, they run really, really cheap things on like specific things. So I would go to different stores if I had to. I don't do that anymore because I don't have to. When you have to do something, it's amazing what you can do with it. If God's blessed you and you don't have to, then by all means, don't live like a pauper. Just because you feel like it. I mean, if you feel like living like a pauper, go for it. But, no one really likes living like a pauper, I don't think. So, if you don't really have to, then don't feel guilty about not having to. But we did. We definitely had to at this point in our life. So I would do Hy-Vee deals. I would only go in for the cheapest things, and then I would get my basics at Aldi. we did a ton of cheap meals. So we did a whole bunch of rice and beans. And it was funny because one of my friends, our friends at church at the time, they were also trying to pay off our debt, and they were doing rice and beans once a week as well. And she had a really good rice and beans recipe that she gave me that was so cheap to make. It's so filling. You can eat it with like a 99-cent pack of tortillas if you want, you know, really, really, really good. But after a year or two of that, my husband was like, never make rice and beans again. And I don't think I've made that recipe one time since we paid off our debt. So just, you're going to get sick of it. I've heard some families doing ramen noodles. I know that's horribly unhealthy. You could healthify it a little bit by adding your own vegetables and boiled eggs. You know, that would help a little bit. But I mean, obviously you got the salt content and all that in there. So ramen noodles is a cheap one, lots and lots. And now if you're gluten-free, this is going to be hard to go by because I did a lot of cooking from scratch. And so homemade pizza, you know, we did a lot of meatless things. So once a week I do homemade pizza. Once a week I do rice and beans. I did pancakes. And then my meat was like sausage links. That's really, really cheap. Oatmeal for breakfast every day. Tacos are really, really cheap. And you can add a lot of fillers to tacos, like taco meat and beans. So if you don't, no, I was not eating organic foods back then. And we still don't get to eat all that much organic foods. I try, you know, I try what I can to do organic, but we are not an all organic family by any means. So definitely. Yes. And Amanda, you're right. Rice, beans, pasta. Yes. My husband had to choke down the pasta. One thing that makes pasta bearable for him is I'll make spaghetti and then meatballs. He'll eat it with meatballs. And garlic bread goes really good with that, and that's cheap. I'd make my own garlic bread. I would just buy a loaf of French bread, and I would butter it, and then you can put, my kids really like it. My mother-in-law makes it this way, and I love it. It's just French bread with butter, and then you sprinkle Parmesan on it and cook it. It's so good. My husband's not a fan of Parmesan, though, so just garlic salt on his. But that's super cheap. It's like $1 for a loaf of bread. So that goes along good with it. Potatoes are great. Exactly. Potato meals. We did lots of eggs. Eggs are really cheap. So yeah, that's all stuff. Probably not like low carb by any means. Yeah. And yeah, organic food definitely ups your grocery bill. So obviously you're going to have to count that in if you want to do all organic. And then yes, we used a lot less meat when we were on budget. And mostly casseroles. See, I don't do casseroles because my husband won't eat them. So, but he will eat like, you know, pasta. That's still, even when we were like trying to work off debt, he hates spaghetti so much. I would only do it about once a month. Now I probably only do it every couple months. He just really hates it. So, but cooking from scratch is always cheaper. I mean, especially now, if we go out to eat with my family, it's so expensive. I treated the girls to Mexican. It was just me and the girls this past week for a couple days. So I treated them to Mexican. And just for me, Abby, Chloe, Lana, Allie, and the babies, it was like $40. So it's really expensive to eat out. And for our family, eating out as a family is kind of a treat because we don't do it very often. So lots of leftovers if you don't have a big family. A lot of women will do, I know waffles is a really cheap thing that you can make for breakfast. And they'll have I used to do this actually. I just don't have time anymore. I would do like a ton of waffles and then freeze them. And I used to like bake chocolate chip cookies. I'd make our own snacks even. So I would bake chocolate chip cookies and I would spread them with ice cream and then make like a cookie sandwich and freeze them because my husband loved grabbing those when he would come home from work. We did a lot of popcorn. Popcorn is super, super cheap. And then just, you know, he always likes to have chips. That's like his snack. So I would get chips for him. So yeah, you could. Denise said you can freeze leftovers from the week and do a buffet style for dinner once a week. Yep. And I agree, Carla. I love the cake mix for desserts. And it's like 99 cents or something, especially at Aldi. It's really, really cheap. Brownies are cheap to make. Different things. But there's definitely things that you can do. Back then, my life, I didn't have really any in school. So my life completely revolved around cooking and cleaning and menu planning and all this stuff. So now my life is so busy and I have so much help from my other kids that I don't focus so much on it anymore. And you might not either as your kids get older. So we go through different seasons in life. And in that season of life, when we were really trying to budget and really trying to cut down on costs, that's how I did it. But yeah, go to different stores. One nice thing about Walmart pickup that kind of keeps me on budget now, I have, oh my goodness, a ton more in the money, ton more in the budget for food now. You know, we're a family of 10 now. And even though my boys do eat a lot by themselves, I still spend, my budget is $260 a week now versus the 35 back then. So I spend a lot more now. But one thing that helps keep me in that, even just that budget, is Walmart pickup, because you can see exactly what you're spending, which is really nice. You're also not doing impulse buys. It's totally free. You're not paying any extra to pick it up. I've looked into like Instacart, but I believe there is a fee and you're paying more and your food is slightly upcharged. So I just can't in good conscience do something like Instacart. So my go-to has been Walmart pickup. I believe since, Hannah's 6.5 months old now, I have not been grocery shopping once since she was born. I've been doing Walmart pickup. That's what I've been doing. But it keeps me on budget, and I say I'm providing food. I'm providing jobs for people in this area, you know, the Walmart pickup people. So my son used to do Walmart pickup. So there are Bent and Dent stores. I know we have one near us. We have a lot of Amish around us, and there is actually an Amish store nearby that has Bent and Dent cans, but I haven't really been to it. But there are places that you can find where things are marked down quite a bit. Buy in bulk if you can. I know Nicole from church, she has often bought in bulk. And, you know, overall, you might be spending a little bit. Plan like a tax return. Okay, so I just bought 1/4 of a cow, and I had some money set aside for that. So, you know, just to get a bigger purchase where you're going to save money in the long run, it really, really helps out a lot. She bought a ton of, I don't know if it was oats. They eat oatmeal a lot. But you can buy bulk with a lot of stuff: rice, oats, sugar, flour, you know, different things like that. So, yeah, Sarah, I'll have to tell you, I remember going to it. I don't know if it's still around, but it was like Countryside Acres or something around here. But they had cans that were like Bent and Dent that were a lot cheaper. So we'll have to like go there someday together. Food pantries. Every place I've lived has had food pantries, whether that's at a church, whether that's at a community center in town. You know, there's no shame in going to a food pantry and getting food if you need to. Most of the time they'll give away milk and veggies and different things like that. So, you know, it's for lower income families. So use that if you absolutely need to supplement, you know, if you have a lower grocery income, use that to supplement that. So there's no shame in it for sure. Okay, if you guys have any like questions about how we did the budgeting, just let me know. My husband has actually sat down with people before and walked, and both of our boys, he did too, walked them through. You should be setting aside, well, first of all, we believe tithe is super important. So tithe off of your income before taxes is how we do it. So we tithe off of the gross, not the take home. So whatever your gross is, tithe off of that first. That part is God's. The 90% that's left, you know, a certain percentage needs to go into savings, a certain percentage needs to go towards bills, a certain percentage needs to go towards food, clothing. If you want a clothing budget every week, a for fun budget, you know, a certain amount goes into the fund, a certain amount goes and just stays in that bank account. So yeah, my ears are plugged up all of a sudden. So yeah, go ahead and ask any questions. I'll try to answer them if I can. This is something that I have had a lot of experience in because of paying down debt. And pretty much since we started a budget 15, 16 years ago, we've pretty much stuck to it. So we've always had some sort of budget in place. I've never seen that, Sarah. I'll have to check it out. She said the Every Dollar app that Dave Ramsey's team made is wonderful for budgeting. I've never heard of it. So yeah, you're basically, you take what you know you're going to bring home. And, you know, I know that fluctuates sometimes, but for us, we pretty much always been on a salary. So we know what he's bringing home. We set aside, you know, this much for this, this much for this, this much for this. I used to do the budget all the time. The last year or two, he's taken over it, and it's kind of freeing because I don't have to worry about it anymore. I know what I have to spend on groceries every week, and I just spend it. So I don't need to ask him, you know, it's already pre-approved. So I spend that. If there is anything that's going to come out of our joint bank account, then I ask him, you know, hey, I need to pay this. Hey, I need, like today I paid taxes and I bought a sticker, like a car sticker for our vehicle. So if there's anything like that, I'll say, you know, I need to do this, I need to do that. And then, you know, he's like, okay, but, you know, wait till next week, or okay, go ahead and do it now. So, you know, it's really, it's not something that has to be done by the husband or has to be done by the wife. You know, I believe for us personally, it's worked really, really well. With both of us knowing what's going on. As the wife, it's made me more aware. Okay, I have to be careful, you know, because the Bible talks about the heart of her husband to safely trust in her. And I believe that's, you know, a lot of the stuff in Proverbs 31 is talking about how she's frugal and how she does work with her own hands, and she considers a vineyard and she buys it, and, you know, she's trying to bring in extra income for him, but he also trusts her and knows that she's not going to be foolishly spending, or, you know, just he's working so hard that she's not going to just be blowing it on everything. So I've always tried to keep that in mind. And back when he worked at Walmart, one thing that helped me was anytime I wanted to make a purchase, I would think, how many hours did he have to work for this? And I knew how hard the physical work was at Walmart, and I knew how hard he worked. And so if I really, really wanted that new skirt, let's say it was $40, you know, well, that was almost 2 hours of work that he was doing. And that would really put it in perspective for me. Okay, is this worth my husband slaving away for 2 hours? And so that really helped me to be, you know, really careful of my spending. And even now the same principle applies, because I do have some piano lesson money coming in, but I stop and think, okay, was it worth this amount of time of teaching? You know, was it worth this much? Okay, yes, it was. Then I feel fine spending that. No, that seems kind of frivolous. Then I don't. So that's one thing that's always kind of helped me. I've never heard of that, Melissa. Clear checkbook budget program. And then Sarah said it's totally free for the basic version, and you can edit your budget throughout the month as needs arise. Tithe is at the top of the list and debt is at the bottom. Nice. I am very glad to say that we don't have any debt right now, with the exception of the house, I believe. I think we owe on our house, but then that's going to be, we're refinancing here, and it's going to be, we're going to have that paid off in 15 years. So pretty happy about that. So our whole married life, we're still chipping away. You know, we want to be good stewards of the money God has blessed us with. And we don't want to be reckless with it. And I don't want to be reckless with my husband's money. So this is one way that us as wives, if we want, you know, we're very blessed to be able to stay at home. And we're very blessed in this economy to be able to live off of one income. So let's do good by that. You know, let's bring honor to our husbands because of that, and look for all these ways that we can help him out. And then he will trust us. So if we do come to him with a legitimate need, he's going to pay attention, because he knows that we're frugal, and he knows how, you know, we appreciate how hard he works, and you know, things like that. So let's go over clothes. Sarah, did you notice the shirt I'm wearing? So I want to go over really quickly what we did. It was so fun yesterday, with the exception of us just dying of heat because the room was so hot we were in. But we, one of the girls that comes to our church, Carrie, was it Carrie that had this idea? And she had a clothing swap idea. And it was so fun, because we had, all of us just kind of went through our closets. I did it really quickly because I forgot about it. Not going to lie, totally forgot about it until literally I was walking out the door. So I went in my closet and I just like pushed all my clothes back, and I went to the very back where I hadn't worn them in like 6 months, and I just started pulling dresses and stuff out. So, but yeah, I just like pulled a bunch of dresses out and brought them. But everyone just brought clothes that we don't wear very often. And I was going to have, I'm going to have to say Janae is the winner for all the clothes that she brought. But we put them all in the nursery, like on the chairs. We just spread them around the room. And then we all just went through each other's clothes and we got to exchange clothes. So it was really fun because it was like a huge thrift store without paying money. So if you have a church where you could do that, it was such a good idea. I'm so glad that Carrie came up with the idea. And it was so much fun. We felt like we were all like thrift store shopping, which, you know, thrift stores are one of my big things that I love doing. So yeah, so we did almost die of heat exhaustion. Oh, it was so hot. I'm sweating right now because the air's not on. And like I said, when it's 90 in Illinois, it gets pretty hot. Ooh, I know you people think I'm wimps, but I don't like the heat. So we went through all the clothes in there and it was so fun. So think about starting something like that at your church. Maybe every few months be like, you know what? I can't really afford to buy a new outfit. Let's have a clothing swap. And I got these 2 gorgeous dresses. I can't wait to wear them. One of them was from Sarai. And then the other one, I don't know who the purple dress was from my Maurice's, but it's so pretty. I actually stole it from Nicole because she had it first and then she knew I wanted it. So she gave it to me. It was nice of her, but it was a lot of fun. So that's an idea. Obviously thrift stores. I like to hit my thrift store in town, Only the Best. It's my favorite. And they do 90% off a lot of times. One time I went there and they had a bunch of jeans for my boys, 90% off. And I got like 5 or 6 pairs of jeans for like 10 cents a piece. It was crazy. So it wouldn't have been 10 cents. I think they were like marked maybe 70 cents a piece because I think they were about $7. And that's one thing I like about the thrift store. It's marked very reasonably. So then even when you get it 90% off, like some shirts are $3.99. So you're paying 40 cents for a shirt. It's crazy. So if you can hit that at the right time, it's awesome. Garage sales are awesome. We have gotten our stove. We've gotten, what else have we gotten at garage sales? A lot of stuff at garage sales, just from people seeing it and telling us about it. So, and then eBay. I have known people to make a business, women, moms, stay-at-homes, that will buy at garage sales and thrift stores name brand clothing, list it on eBay, get back 10 times what they paid for it. And they have a pretty lucrative business doing that, just constantly rotating stuff out. So I've never been good at that. Some people just are really, really good at that. I'm like, I'm going to do this because I can't remember, one of my friends was doing it. She would go to thrift stores and buy name brand clothing. And then like at this time, Tommy Hilfiger was like big. And so she would buy like Calvin Klein, you know, all the stuff we grew up in the early 2000s. She would buy all the stuff and then list it for higher prices on eBay, making quite a bit. So I'm like, I'm going to do this. So I went to one and I found a couple name brand things and then put it in the bag and never even listed it. So I stunk at that. So that is not a lucrative business for me, but for some people it might be. So also consignment stores. If you have nice clothing that you're getting rid of, you can, you know, take it there and then you can kind of just rotate because then they give you a credit or they give you money. And so you can either use that credit in their store or you can actually earn money from that. So that's something to think about as well. But if you have any other ideas, ladies, with clothes, go ahead and leave it there. That's about what I've done. Also, I've just been really blessed to be in a church community because when we lived at Lighthouse, there was families there. We had lots of kids. And there was families there who had kids outgrowing stuff, and they would just give us huge bags of clothes. So my kids have never wanted for clothes, nice clothes. We've always had a bunch of people just donating clothes to us, and it wasn't like junk. It was like really nice stuff, you know? So we've just always been blessed of being in church to have kind of that community that helps out with that. Okay, so let's go over bills. Seeing what you can get rid of and starting with the smallest bill and working your way up. You know, kind of like a snowball effect. So yeah, Joyce, I have seen a lot of women that do that. I just stink at sewing. She said she loves turning thrift store jeans into skirts. She even found maternity jeans that are now skirts. I would love to see that. I would love to see how you do that. If you're blessed, if you're able to do that, that's awesome. That's a good skill to have. Because obviously you can find jeans anywhere. It's just hard to find jean skirts. It can be easier to find modest clothing. In fact, a couple of my skirts that I have that have the shorts attached, which I really, really like, they have like knee-length shorts underneath. My black skirts, I'm actually wearing one right now. I have found them at Goodwill's. So, and they're from Target. I think they're normally like $25, $30, something like that. And I've got them for like $5. So, yeah, sewing can save you lots of money. For me, it's not worth the mental anguish, so I don't even try. My sanity is more important than saving a little money at this point in my life. But there was a couple years that I made all my girls' Easter dresses. They were so cute, but that was years ago. But let's go over bills. So you can actually call places sometimes and see if you can get a lower bill. What is it? Your phone bill? See what you can cut for expenses with your phone bill, your electric bill. See if there's ways that you can cut your expenses there. I've always been really good with getting good deals when it comes to basically anything. We've known when we've traveled, my husband always sends me in to ask what rate I can get, because I'm able to talk them down for some reason. I don't know. They just will come down on their price. For me, they never do for him. He's tried and they're like, nope, this is it. And then I'll go in and they'll be like, well, we can do this or we can do this. And they keep coming lower and lower. And he's like, how do you do that? So he always just sends me in. When it comes to ordering fast food, if we are traveling or something, he always has me do it because he knows that I know the best deal as far as like the dollar menu or if, a value meal would be cheaper. So he's tried to order food before for the family and it's been really bad. He's like, I spent like $45. How did you do that? It's just because I know, the ins and outs of menus. So, but when it comes to bills, there are ways that you can slash it as far as even with electricity, being mindful of the lights running or the fans running or, for us, we're on budget billing. That's always helped us because we're on electric, and in the winter we can have like a $500 electric bill. It's insane. And we have a small home, but we have, it's the heat's running and it's like -10 sometimes here. Plastic over the windows in the winter. Just dressing a little warmer and having the thermostat down. Now, the one nice thing about our home is that most of the rooms have their own thermostat. So if we are gone the whole day, we'll turn down all of the heat in the bedrooms and then just keep like the living room on low. And then you can just readjust when you get home. You can turn the heat up or whatever. So budget billing has saved us. We love being on budget billing for our electric. We kind of had to, so we knew exactly what we were paid every month. And then just being aware of what you're spending. Some people, when they sit down and they figure out where their money is going and they're looking at their banking and they're saying, this much money went to fast food. This much money went to Starbucks. This much money went to the clothing store. This much money, they're like, what have I done? I can't believe I've been spending money like this. And that's why cash is better. You take out the cash every week. You're not having all these little debits that are adding up to way more than the cash that you took out. You take out your cash, I've got $50 and this has to make the whole week. So do I want that $5 Starbucks drink or do I want to save it for a dinner out with my husband? So it really keeps it in perspective. And then Karen said, writing down every day, anything I spend has really curbed my spending. I no longer buy coffee outside the house, but books are my weakness. Yes, they are. At least a lot of it is a business write-off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and KJV said many times the skirts I get at the thrift store have to be repaired, so it helps to check them out really well before buying something and make sure you can fix any problems. That's a good point, because when it comes to stuff at thrift stores, I'm not going to buy anything that needs a button, or I'm not going to buy anything where the zipper is broken. I'm not going to buy anything that has a rip that needs to be mended, because I just don't want to spend my time doing sewing. So, yeah. Even like Sarah said, even if the skirt's only 50 cents, it's not worth taking it to a tailor and spending $15 if you aren't able to make the repairs. So that is a good tip. But yeah, just being aware of what you're spending. I think a lot of people are completely shocked that aren't on a budget, are completely shocked when they sit down with a printout of all the expenses and all the stuff that they've spent money on. It was a wake up call for us. Like we sat there and we were just like, it's embarrassing. They're like, I was spending that much money on that. And this was even back. I mean, I wasn't even buying Starbucks or anything like that back then, but it was just, I don't know, frivolous stuff like eating out or stuff at the gas station or, you know, just frivolous things like that. You're just shocked at, I'm spending that much money on that. So when it comes to setting up a budget, you just have to do it. My kids have said that as well. But you still have checks when you tell them that you're out of money. Yep. Just write a check. That's what my kids have said. And some people are like that. They'll write a check even if they don't have money in there. So just set up a budget. Just do it. Find one of these budget places. Sarah mentioned a good one. I can't remember who else mentioned the other one. Our personal favorite has been Quicken. That's just what I'm used to. I would highly recommend the cash system. Budgeting a certain amount of cash for your expenses, whether that's your Starbucks every week, whether that's your fast food every week, whether that's your clothing. And here's a nice thing too. If you don't spend all the money in that envelope, which I pretty much always spent the money, but if you don't, let's say you have a fun envelope and you get $50 a week in your fun envelope. Well, let's say you go a few weeks without spending it, then you're rolling that over. Okay, so you have $50. The next week you have 100. Then you have 150. Then you have 200. You're up to 1,000. You can go on a fun trip. You know, that's another thing I didn't even mention. Saving up for the things. Saving up for the big, even the big sticker items. I remember we paid off our debt, our car. I believe at this time it was a minivan, a Dodge Caravan. We paid it off. And we saved. We started saving money. We were going to pay cash for our van. And we had about $2,500 saved, which that you're like, $2,500, that's not going to buy anything. Well, there was a van that we found, I believe, on Craigslist. And they wanted $2,200 for it. So my husband went to go check it out and he bought it. So we spent $2,200. Well, when we brought it home, we noticed when we would go up hills, it would do this like stuttering thing. Like it would go, and we were like, are we going to make it? Like it would jerk. And we were like, is that transmission? You know, what is that? So come to find out, it was some heating coil or something. Heating coil? It was some kind of coil thing. We got it replaced. It was a cheap repair and never did that again. So we think the people were just getting rid of it because they thought the transmission was going out, when in reality, it was just some coil thing that was like $100 repair. That van was the best van we ever had. So we had it for years, like 5 or 6 years or something. And then a man in our church needed a van, and we had gotten a newer vehicle by then, and he offered to pay us $1,000 and buy our van off of our hands. And we're like, well, you know, we don't know. It's, you know, it's running really well for us, but we're going to feel really bad if it like goes out the month after you get it. And he's like, well, it's fine, you know, whatever. So he paid $1,000 for that van, and it ran for years for him. So that was like the best $2,200 we ever spent. Now, I wish we could say ever since then that we've paid cash for all our vehicles. We have not. We slipped off the Dave Ramsey bandwagon a little bit. But you will not imagine how that felt when we paid cash for a vehicle. It was a blessing from the Lord. And I think he kept it running. And I see that throughout the years. So many of the purchases that we've made, the Lord has really been in it. Like he's kept it running way more than it should have, you know. And I feel like anytime something big came up where I thought we're going to have to use the credit card, the Lord has always provided, whether that came, you know, from this, you know, check in the mail, they were just thinking about us, whether that came from a church member, like anonymously giving something, or it's crazy how even before we had a need, God knew about it. Because sometimes, you know, we would have a need and we would get something in the mail where it was sent, you know, days before, but God knew it was coming up. So it's been really cool seeing God's provision. And I believe part of that is just, you know, all things work out for good to those that love the Lord. And the Lord's going to watch out for you, and he's going to provide for you, especially when you keep your priorities straight. A lot of people really don't think that they can, afford to tithe or whatever, but we've had the opposite mindset because we've just seen how God has blessed and God has provided. And, it's just, we've always tried to keep things of the Lord first, and then he'll take care of the rest. So saving for big purchases is a really fun. I remember when last year I went and I had to get a dryer, and I had piano lesson money saved. So I went to go just pay the whole thing. And he told me, are you sure you don't want to put it on, put it for credit, because you might need that for a rainy day? And I was like, well, this is my rainy day. That's why I have it. It's for now. This is my rainy day. So I was able to pay for the whole thing in cash, and it was just such a great feeling. So, but yeah, coupons. Let's go over coupons really quickly. I'm going to kind of wrap it up here pretty quick. But the coupon game. Okay, so a lot of people do coupons. And when I was in the most sparse time of our life, I did the coupon game and I did it well. But it took a lot of time. So what I did was I bought a big binder, and I bought those baseball card, like sleeve protectors. And I had categories. So I had food, I had like deodorants, shaving, toothpaste, body wash, soaps, just all sorts of things. I think I even broke the foods down because cereals are there's big coupons for cereals. You can pretty much get them for free sometimes if you are a cereal eater. So then I would go through every Sunday, and I would try, they had at the dollar store, they had papers with coupons for $1. So and the max was 2. So I would get 2 papers. And then every single Sunday afternoon, we put the kids down for a nap, and I'd sit there and I'd clip my coupons, and I'd organize them. Then I would take the CVS ad for the week, and I would go through and figure out what the deals were going to be that would bring back the most extra care bucks. And those are called ECBs for short. So I would go through that, and on the items where you had a buy one, get one free coupon, and they had a buy one, get one free sale, you got both for free. It's crazy how that works. So I was like coupon queen. Okay. I was not as crazy as some of these hoarders. You have some of these like coupon queen people, not hoarders, but they'll like buy stacks of coupons off eBay, and then they'll go in and like clean the store out, and they'll have like stores, like just crazy amount of stuff. But I didn't have that. But I had a big pantry in my bathroom, and one whole side was for all my extra, like all my CVS stuff. And so I had like multiple just lined up for anytime we need them: razors, deodorants, shampoos, conditioners, body washes, toothpaste, toothbrushes, almost all that stuff I would get for free. So what I would do is I would go up there, and then I would pay, or they would ring all my stuff up. I'd give them all my coupons, and then I would give them my ECB bucks, and then it would take it down to sometimes like $1. Sometimes they would pay me 5 cents. It was crazy. And then a bunch of extra care bucks would print off, and then I would roll those over into the next week. So I was basically getting, because I only had such a small budget for my food, I was getting all of our toiletries for free. So that wasn't even in on my grocery budget. So if you really want to do the coupon game, that's the best way to do it. Walgreens also has a lot of good deals, but CVS had the best deals back then. I don't know how they are anymore. I haven't done it in years. So if anyone does that, let me know. But that is something that you can get into. If you don't have money for toiletries and things like that, but you can totally get into the coupon game. Now, when it comes to groceries, I don't recommend it as much because most of the coupons for groceries are junk. Pop-Tarts, cereals, packaged foods. So if you're trying to stay away from that, it's not going to be ideal. I do remember going to Kroger and spending $30 and getting a huge haul because I had a ton of coupons and they had a really good sale going on. And I had done a picture of it. I used to have a blog a long time ago, and I had done a picture of it. It was a table full of food that I got for $30. So, yogurts though. Yogurts are oftentimes included with coupons. That is something that you could, look at potentially. But I'm going to warn you though, it takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication. You really have to know what you're doing because you don't want to slip up have like a certain budget, but then maybe the coupon has expired and you didn't realize it, or it doesn't work for that type of deal. There is fine print that you have to be really careful about sometimes. So I did coupon game back when we were very poor, and I got really good at it. And so there is definite potential there if you want to devote some time to it. I'm sure there's like YouTube stuff about it now. I didn't even have YouTube back then. I mean, I think it was around, but I didn't watch it. I didn't have a smartphone back then. I didn't have any of that stuff. So this was all just learning from women in my church. So if you have someone in your church that is good at this, take advice from her. Ask how she does it. Ask her what the game is, because it is like a coupon game. Ask her for advice. So definitely go to people. So coupons are a possibility if you want to put the time and effort into it, but it does take a lot of time and effort. And then figuring out, yes, you do sweat it out in line. There was many times. And there was sometimes I had to take the stuff back, or I had to say, no, I can't do it because the coupon didn't work out for some reason. So, and then Sarah said, learning how to can food or having a deep freezer can help with the groceries. Yes, it can. It goes along with buying in bulk. Like you mentioned earlier, I bought like 18 pounds of beef for $35. That's another thing. Yeah, if you have a deep freezer, it's really going to help, because I went to Aldi once and they had like free range chicken marked down to like $2 a package. And they had been like $8 or $9 a package. So I got as much as I could. And if I wouldn't have had a deep freezer, then I wouldn't have been able to buy that much. So, but then you can buy all that, and then you can cook it in bulk, even if you wanted, break it down into bags and freeze it. And then you've got that bag of chicken to pull out for chicken enchiladas or chicken tacos or fajitas or, any kind of casserole that you want. So that's another thing that you can do. There's so much that goes into this. And I did all of this. I've gotten bad with it now. The more the Lord blesses, I feel like your priorities kind of change throughout life. When you're younger and you're poor and, you're just married, you're going to have to do some of this stuff. As the Lord blesses you and your husband maybe moves up as far as promotions and making more, and maybe you can bring in a little side income from home. As you start doing this, you're not going to have to be as extreme. But all these things I've talked about, I have done them. And, we made it through. And the Lord's provided. And we are not late on bills ever. Even when we were at our poorest, we were not late on bills. So Celia said, I go to Meyer and have M perks. Well, we don't have a Meyer around us. They have good savings on diapers and other things and give you like $10 off every so much you spend. That's another thing that might work out for you, is like a diaper subscription. I don't know how much those run. Nicole from church was just talking about it here. I've never really looked into one, but if it will save you any money, then that might be something that you could look into. I also like buying bulk at Sam's Club too, but yes, you do have to keep a rein on yourself, because you can get carried away, and then it's not even cheaper. Like some of the snacks aren't even cheaper, I don't think, in the long run. So wrapping it up, it all boils down to being content with what you have. When it comes to decorating your home, I've always been able to find really cheap ways to decorate my house that I really love. One thing that I have in my home is a plate wall. And I don't know if you've ever been in my house. I love my old plates, my old china plates. And what I did was I would just, every so often I go to Goodwill and I look through their plates, and I'll find a cheap 99-cent china plate that I really like at Goodwill, and I'll take it home. I'll clean it up. And then on the back, I take Gorilla Glue, and I Gorilla Glue a big paper clip to the back, and then that's like how I hang it. And so I have a plate wall of just like old-fashioned china plates I love, and that's just a cheap way to have something really cute in your home. And so I've always found ways to just decorate my home cheaply, but in a way that I love. I love vintagey stuff. I love flowers. I love going to thrift stores and then, buying things that are at thrift stores. I've gotten almost all my decorations that way. So there are ways. I decorate with a lot of pictures. I love pictures of my family and those that I'm close to. So I will decorate in those. you definitely can make it work. Paint is cheap. Work with what you have. Work with what God's given you. Be a blessing to your husband, not a curse. Work with what he gives you. You want to remember how hard he works and how blessed you are to be a stay-at-home mom. And you don't want to be frivolous with that hard-earned money. So like I said earlier, there's different ways I always kind of kept that in perspective. But, just really appreciating all the hard work that he does and realizing what's important in life. What is important to you? Is it name brand clothes? Is it the nicest decorated house? Is it the biggest house? Is it, we've always lived very modestly in small homes. And it's just, my house is just not top priority with me. I like having a nice home. In fact, we're doing what we can now to fix it up with some of the resources that God has given us. We're using those to put back into our home, all these stimulus checks and things. We're going to kind of pour that back into it. We've never had the extra money to do that before now. So now we're able to, and I don't take that for granted. I thank God that he has blessed us that way. But, in the last 8 years, my kitchen has literally been falling apart. My cabinets have literally been falling apart. Karen knows, I've talked to her about it before. My kitchen has literally been falling apart, but I just had to, like she told me, do people come over to your house to look at your cabinets, or do they come over because they love you? No one cares about your cabinets. No one cares about your house. They come over because they want to fellowship with you. So that really helped put it in perspective for me. I'm like, you're right. They don't care about my cabinet. I don't care about people's cabinets when I go over there. So why do I think everyone's going to be judging me for my cabinets? So just kind of keep it in perspective. I think the key to everything is being content with what God has given you, not being a complainer, not being a whiner, not being a drain on your husband, not constantly nagging him. I want more, I want better, I want this, I want that, because that's really going to wear on him. He wants a happy, content wife. He wants someone that's proud of him for working hard and, thanks him for, just providing for her, because, men were meant to be providers, and they like hearing that you're thankful for that every now and then. So yes, Kelly, I told everyone to shop at Aldi. Kelly Logan is like the, Aldi queen. But if you shop at Aldi, I will say this, do not go down the aisle of shame, as they call it. There's an AOS, aisle of shame. And that has like the coolest things. Like they have rugs, and they have shoes, and they have clothes, and they have candles, and they have decorations, and they have, stuff for your kitchen. So just don't go down that aisle. Focus on the basics. Focus on the basics. And I actually haven't been to Aldi since the baby was born because of the whole mask thing. I got sick of dealing with the masks, and also I've been doing Walmart pickup. But I know I need to get back to Aldi. Yeah. Oh, I told you, Teresa. Teresa is living proof. She said Aldi is the bomb, and I stopped in that aisle and I bought it all. You're not going to save money if you go down the aisle of shame. It's called the aisle of shame for a reason. So that's hilarious, Janello. She said about the stimulus checks, yay for large families. All of a sudden, people are envious of us having many children now that we got more because we have more kids. I know, it's so funny. And we got an absurd amount. And I'm sorry, it kind of made me mad because I'm like, this is ridiculous. We're getting this much money and you can't exactly refuse it. They put it right in your bank account. So we decided to put it back into our home since we never have extra for home repairs and things like that. So we decided to count it as a blessing and, put it back in our home. So it's exciting. So yeah, stay tuned. Once everything's done, I'll probably post the pictures in the Gently Led Sisters group. So remember, if you're not a member of that, go ahead and join Gently Led Sisters group on Facebook. Just answer a few questions. And then you can be in there. You can kind of see us talking about different topics. And there's a lot of like women asking questions. I have this situation. I have that. Can you help me? Whatever. You can kind of see what our shows are going to be about coming up. So yeah, join that if you haven't. But I think that's about it. Right, Kelly? She said, yes, haters everywhere on the checks. No one asking me this year how we pay for 9 kids, though. It's true. Everyone knows how we pay for them now. And hey, I've been paying, like I said, almost $300 a week for groceries for a long time. So it's not like I haven't been spending all this money on my kids or putting it back into the economy. So we've been putting it back into the economy for sure. But if you guys have any other questions, any comments, just go ahead and leave it in chat. Oh man, there's even so much more I could talk about. This is a subject that I'm well acquainted with. So if you would like to see another episode about money or budgeting or something along a more specific genre, just, let me know. But thanks, Brother Tim. But yeah, it was nice chatting with all you guys, and we'll see you next week. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'll figure it out. So we'll see you guys next week. I appreciate all of you. So bye.